Welcome back. International Youth Day is celebrated globally on the 12th of August, and we're going to be having that conversation now and putting Nigeria in context. I'm joined here by Shion Fakorede, Commissioner for Youth and Sports in Oyo State. Thanks a lot for being here today.
Thank you very much.
You probably are in charge of one of the largest demographics in your state and in Nigeria. We all know the youth population in Nigeria is, from what I hear, over 70% now, getting closer to 80 in some places, depending on the definition of youth, though. Because I don't know, some people say it's under 30, some say under 35, some say 40. I don't know what it is. But generally, Nigeria's population is very young and vibrant, but also very troubled. We know a lot that's happening with regards to unemployment. There's no need going into the details now. How are you handling things in your state, especially with regards to this Youth Day that's coming up? How do you get young people inspired again at a time like this with all that's going on?
So I think representing that constituency, can actually be quite a challenge, because this is like the most vibrant demographic that we have in the nation. And it's actually very, very technical, trying to get them along. And but I think personally for me, if there is one strategy that I think that is working for me, especially in that space, is leading by being the example, yourself. Because the world is full of this is how this should be done, and we don't have people that are doing it exactly the way it should be done. So what I just said to myself, in 2019 when I came into the office as the youngest honorable commissioner ever in the history of Nigeria, I just said to myself that, look, I have a lot of, people have a lot of expectations, as to what will become of, me, and then my assignment, my role in the office. But I just said to myself that, look, I'm going to let people know that I'm human, first of all, and I will just do things to the best of my ability and knowledge, and let people see the intentionality, the genuineness, behind my services, really. And I think today, when I look back, I have no regrets whatsoever. And from the feedback that I get from people, I think we are actually doing pretty good, and there's more to do, really.
We'll take a quick break now. I'll be right back. Please stay with us. Putting Nigeria in context now, there's no doubt that a lot of people agree that the youth have been failed over time by government. We know that Nigerians are not necessarily the most demanding people. Everybody just asks for the basics. We have an extremely resilient young generation, evidenced by the fact that the ones who get to travel out of the country excel unbelievably, just by getting a few more things comfortably done for them. Why are we still where we are? Why are things getting even worse? Because the unemployment numbers were not this crazy before. How is there any fear from governments? When you have such a restless youth population that is not engaged fully, doesn't it worry you? Doesn't it worry governments across levels?
Yeah, so for me, personally, especially because, I'm actively in, the government, especially, from Oyo State. And if there's anything I see, especially for the consciousness that is being put into things, in Oyo State, I would say that there are a lot of things that we need to actually re-engineer in our system. A number of policies that needs to be changed, that's necessarily not compliant with the world that we have today. And that is why you find a number of youths trying to get themselves out of the country, and it won't take them time for them to actually succeed, because what they actually just need is an enabling environment. So for me, I think this Nigeria that we are, I think the barest thing that we can actually do as a government is just to create an enabling environment, because Nigerians they have the tenacity, they have that doggedness to actually be able to weather the storm. So all you just need to give them is an environment where they can actually thrive. And if you do that, you see a number of results. I don't believe that what we need to thrive or to be better Nigerians or better Nigeria is actually outside of where we are. I believe so strongly that all the things that is required for us to thrive, we have it, here.
So why are we not harnessing this?
So, I mean, you will hinge that a lot on, because I believe so strongly that everything rises and falls on leadership, really. So if we're not getting the kind of the desired result that we have, I mean, we all know that, there are little hiccups here and there, especially when it comes to the leadership of the country. So, I mean, and I know that if we can actually be quite intentional as to selecting our leaders, our representatives, I know that, things will change. Because look at the countries that are actually doing well. I mean, it's not like Nigeria, corruption is not only found in Nigeria or in Africa. I mean, there's corruption all over the world, but there are institutions that are there that have made, that act of corruption quite a little bit difficult for you to, carry out. So that is what we just need, even in our country, institutions that will almost handicap this, corruption, because corruption is a natural phenomenon. If you ask me, whether we like it or not, people will definitely, want to do things that are not. But when they know that, look, there are institutions, there are systems in place that will actually, nap them, they will definitely think twice before they want to do anything. Yeah. Yes. So it's more of the institutions, first than, the people. I mean, when you build stronger institutions, it's, puts people into check.
I like that you brought up leadership there, because there's always been this talk about, young people running for office. I mean, very few of you who even get appointed into such top-level positions in government. There's always this joke about people who try to run for office end up being SAs and PAs and all of that. Not that they are bad things, but it always feels like, okay, just take this one and keep quiet there, Why is that still hard to break? You have been a politician now for a couple of years. You kind of understand the system. Is it a feasible sort of dream for young people to crack that leadership elective system? Why is it so hard, and what should we be doing differently?
So quite frankly, I'm going to say that it's quite tough, especially because of this environment that we are at the moment. And the best thing to do really is just to find a way to just get involved. And there are a lot of principalities in the system that would not want you to actually thrive, or that might be quite threatened by what you might possibly bring to the table. Take, for example, in 2019, when I was announced, I was nominated by His Excellency to be a commissioner, there were a number of older men, who protested against, my candidacy. That, why? Who is this small boy? This position is for big men. No, but if not for the fact that he was quite resolute and he knew that, okay, this guy can actually do the work, I would definitely not be given the opportunity to serve in that capacity. So I believe that for a number of young men and women out there, all we just need to do is let us endeavor to at least get involved first. Because you cannot orchestrate anything or influence anything from outside. There was a particular meeting that I was in a couple of months ago, and then I looked around at that gathering. I was the youngest in that gathering, and perhaps the only youth in that gathering. And I said to myself, even if I want to promote an agenda here, I already know that there are a number of voices that will shut me down. But there is nothing wrong. These positions are actually open to people. But if you don't go, they are not going to bring those positions or those entries to you.
Sorry to cut in there. Because, they are open, but not everybody has the kind of governor you have. But that's even an appointed position. We've heard the stories about, first of all, how much these tickets even cost. I, for one, I'm sure you do as well, know people who ran for primary elections across the country in the last couple of months. And what happened eventually? Some won, some were almost stolen. It's a classic example, we saw what happened in Lagos with Banky W. They had to have a rerun after everybody had seen the results declared. I have similar stories of people in other states where maybe social media was not that savvy to have recorded theirs. And it ended the way it did because of how the system works. How do you crack that when there's a cabal or principalities, like you've called them?
Yeah, so for me, I think it's actually, every politics is actually local. So we should, see it from that point of, your locality. Because, I mean, when you come out now, if you say you don't want to be part of, ward meetings, if you say you don't want to be part of, political, engagements, and all, these are the same guys that when, it comes to that time, they are the one that will vote for you. So if they are not quite familiar with you, if you have not been able to influence them one way or the other, then,
you can't just show up and...
That guy that maybe doesn't even have half the qualification that you have, is the one that would, take their vote. I mean, look at it. I mean, look at this. Look at the issue of national delegates and co. I mean, so that's enough, to tell us that look at the set of people, the caliber of people who have actually been empowered to actually choose our leaders for us. Yeah. So, but the truth is, these guys were actually chosen from the locality. So if we too were actually very, intellectual, cerebral minds, youths, well-meaning youths, if we're actually well, involved from, the grassroots, and I believe that things will definitely, change, for the better, and we can influence at the, top levels too.
You mentioned well-meaning there, and I see a lot of people who talk about, trying to join politics or talk about politicians generally, and there's always the belief that, people can go in there and change the system, and people always think it's a myth that, you want to go in there and be different, the system ends up swallowing you. Is it possible for young people to become a part of the system and not get their hands dirty?
Yeah, I mean, sincerely, it's very possible. But at the same time, it's quite difficult and challenging because, you are just like that one voice. And, you have, multitudes that are actually, saying something at the same time that you are saying, yours. So it's just like, me alone in this room, and I keep saying yes, yes, yes. And then we have about 25 or 30 more men in this room that keep saying no, no, no. I mean, what you hear, you hardly even hear my own yes. What you hear is the no. And also, that's why it's actually very, very difficult. And if anything would happen, they will say, put it to votes. And if you have, 30 men in the room, one says, yes, 29 says no, 29, men, they have that, votes and they carry. So that's why it's very difficult. But at the same time, I mean, I know that change, revolutions don't start big, they start small. So, I mean, having, Seun Fakorede today, who has been in active governance since 2019 and is still waxing strong, and getting a number of other people to actually join this vanguard, I know that with time, we'll be able to influence. Man, the world is actually getting smarter. A lot of people are beginning, I mean, it's quite amazing to see a number of youths, who have actually taken interest in politics, who are deliberate, and who are actually ready to challenge the status quo. So I believe so strongly that we've started. Yes, we don't have, that amount of voice or strength, yet. But I know that, by the special grace of God, we'll be able to build, more momentum, and we'll be able to challenge, the status quo accordingly.
On a final note now, very quickly before we go, how do we turn this anger that young people have in Nigeria today? People are very angry.
Yes.
People are hungry. There's a lot of poverty. There's a lot of insecurity. There's really no jobs anywhere. We see what's happening with the economy. People are very angry, and young people are angry because they are literally at the prime of their lives, and nothing seems to be working out. How do you turn that, in a time like this, realistically, to strength?
So, I mean, sincerely, in a setting like this, the law is the law. Policies are policies. So the best way, if truly we are angry, if truly we are tired of the status quo, the best way now is, for all of us to go get, to get our PVC, and not only to get it, to vote. Yes, a lot of people will say that, oh, do our votes, really count? Sincerely, I don't know if if there's anything I understand about politicians, is that they don't invest in something that doesn't have value. So if a politician is running after you to pay you for your votes, it means it actually, counts. Because, look, you don't even rig where you are not popular. That's, the basis. So if a politician is saying that, look, I want to buy your votes, look, I want to give you money for this, it means it's really, and thank God for the latest, reform in our electoral, act. And also I believe that these things are actually making it a bit difficult for for manipulations to occur, because now you get accredited, you vote, and they count the vote and they transmit the votes electronically. So it's not before that you vote in VI and before you get to Ikoyi, they've snatched the ballot box, they've added something to it, and then it continues in transit. By the time it gets to Ikoyi, vote of 10,000 is already 88,000, and there's no way you can actually. So now I think we are getting smarter as a people, and as a system, like that, and with time we'll be able to look back and say, but the most important thing is do your own part, and then just watch and see what happens. Defend what you have done, and we'll be able to. You can't say that you failed when you didn't even try, and you can't say that you succeed when you have actually done nothing, sitting in your closet and say, oh, Nigeria will be good. So we have to get into the work.
Thank you very much, Seun Fakorede. I think that's a very good way to end it. Like you said, people have registered to get their PVCs. I think INEC has suspended it on the 31st. The next step now is to actually go pick up those PVCs. Very, very important that you do. And then make sure you vote when the time comes, because the votes are really in your hands. Like you said, they wouldn't be pursuing you if they didn't need it. Thank you very much for joining us today. Like I always say, you can follow the conversation on Twitter. Please use the hashtag #RubbingMinds when you send us a message. I'll see you next Sunday.
Don't just stand there teasing me. Now it's time to show